In Icewind Dale, adventure is a dish best served cold. Beneath the unyielding night sky, you stand before a towering glacier and recite an ancient rhyme, causing a crack to form in the great wall of ice. Beyond this yawning fissure, the caves of hunger await, and past this icy dungeon is a secret so old and terrifying that few dare speak of it. The mad wizards of the Arcane Brotherhood long to possess that which the god of winter's wrath has so coldly preserved, as do you. What fantastic secrets and treasures are entombed in the sunless heart of the glacier, and what will their discovery mean for the denizens of Icewind Dale? Can you save 10 towns from the Frostmaiden's everlasting night? Rime of the Frostmaiden is a chilling adventure full of mad wizards, scheming dwarves, and unprecedented secrets. In 10 towns, the adventurers find themselves trapped in Auril's everlasting rime as they face off against mechanical dragons, gnome mind flayers, and cold-hearted killers. With so many connected story elements and grand schemes, surely the adventure has a grand introduction worthy of the coming events. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The adventure gives the DM little to work with in terms of starting the players off with any sort of motivation. In this video, I aim to help you set the stage and give your players their first quests. I truly believe this book is overflowing with content and provides the DM with everything they need to run a compelling and interesting adventure. It just doesn't do an amazing job with the theatrics. So, without further ado, I'm Alex, and this is how I would start off Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden. Icewind Dale has become trapped in a perpetual winter. Ferocious blizzards make the mountain pass through the spine of the world exceedingly treacherous, and the land has not felt the warmth of the sun in over 2 years. In fact, the sun no longer appears above the mountains, not even in what should be the height of summer. In this frozen tundra, darkness and bitter cold reign as king and queen. Most Dale residents blame Auril the Frostmaiden, the god of winter's wrath. The shimmering aura that weaves across the sky each night is said to be her doing, a potent spell that keeps the sun at bay. Although each town has resolved to appease the Frostmaiden with sacrifices of one kind or another, no respite from the winter's fury seems forthcoming. You find yourself stuck in Brinchander, largest of the 10 towns the past few months. The rooms are cramped and the nights cold. You and the other residents have gathered in the marketplace this day in anticipation of this month's sacrifice to Auril. The warmth of the crowd is almost enough to conceal the bitter cold that fills the air around you. In front of the rabble is a raised platform where Duvessa Shane, Speaker of Brinchander, and Sheriff Markham Southwell sit, flanked by a group of guards. Sitting on a table in front of them is a bowl filled to the brim with slips of parchment. The crowd's chatter quickly falters as Duvessa stands up to speak. At this point, explain the nature of Brinchander's sacrifice to Auril, and then allow each party member to decide if they would have willingly put their name into the bowl, or if they would have taken alternate measures. The player could use their starting gold to retroactively bribe a guard, or perhaps deceive them instead. Or they could have used sleight of hand or magic to trick the guards into believing that they had added their name. I've decided that this can't go on. Auril's torment has gone on too long. I will adhere to the decisions of my fellow speakers, and follow through with this lottery today. But I am calling a council of the speakers. A 10-day from now, the speakers and I will be voting once again to decide if we would continue these offerings to our unrelenting Frostmaiden. For we have offered her all we can for over a year, and she has done little to alleviate us from her everlasting rime. The crowd stares back in silence. Duvessa slowly walks over to the bowl of names and takes a piece of paper from within her jacket pocket and adds it to the bowl. The crowd begins murmuring to each other once again. Before more words can be shared, Sheriff Southwell stands up. The masses are silent once more. He walks over to the table and shuffles the papers around for several moments. Have everyone pick a number between 1 and 1,000. Then use Roll20 or another service to roll a 1,000-sided dice and read the result to the party. This should certainly spook your party members, fake the results to ensure that a member of the party is not picked, or maybe allow fate to tamper with your game. If a member of the party is chosen, they could be saved by Oyum and Artok, or join the forces of Auril. Everyone looks around at each other in anticipation. Southwell pulls out a single slip of parchment. Barton, innkeep of the Hooked Knucklehead. The crowd glances at the ramshackle tavern sitting on the edge of the marketplace square. The few private rooms available do not have any hearths, and no one has stayed in the inn since Auril's rime began. The brutal winds have damaged the structural integrity of the inn, its structure hanging on to its last breath. Most customers are local scrimshawers and trappers who all slept in the large common room, close to its sole stone fireplace. Barton looks up to the sky and curses the Frostmaiden for destroying his business and livelihood, and then he marches up to the platform. Barton whispers something to Duvessa and she nods. Then Sheriff Southwell and another guard walk up to him and then begin ripping Barton's clothes off and dropping him onto the snowy ground. Barton's hands are bound behind his back and he is led to the southwest gate. Duvessa and the crowd follow. The lowly innkeep reaches the edge of the gate, already shivering from the bitter cold. He turns around and looks at his home one last time before walking briskly down the road. Sheriff Southwell crosses his arms and watches him go, while standing in the middle of the road. Eventually, you can no longer see Barton walking across the great expanse, as the sun has set fully beyond the horizon and the Frostmaiden's eerie night has begun. You all look at each other, the only people still watching. You realize that this is no way to live, that someone must rise up and free Tin Towns from the prison created by Auril. It is time to band together and face the threat head on. Besides, you know the Dale holds secrets and treasures beyond your wildest imagination. Allow your party to introduce themselves to each other, after which the cold of the night begins to set in and they are guided to the North Look by Sheriff Southwell or another friendly character who wants to get them out of the weather. The party would also be generally familiar with the town, and someone could suggest it as a location to grab a room for the evening. Once arriving in the tavern, the locals are speaking in hushed tones about a string of recent murders. Run the introduction to Cold-Hearted Killer here now, which should be an ongoing quest throughout Chapter 1. The party can also receive a Tin Towns rumor so they can get a true starting quest. I suggest Tourmaline's quest, A Beautiful Mine, or Bremen's quest, Lake Monster, as a good quest for level 1. This also ensures your party will start on the left side of Tin Towns, and you can predict the party's next move a bit easier. And Lonelywood's quest, The White Moose, is a great follow-up to both of these. Another idea I recommend is require more of the quests to be completed, or at least encourage the players to do more Tin Town quests after achieving level 4 before setting off into the Dale. A lot of the stuff in Chapter 1 is great for setting the stage for the rest of the module. In regards to Bryn Shander's quest, I would personally drop Foaming Mugs from the adventure and use Cold-Hearted Killer as the town's quest. Most of the quests in Chapter 1 are connected to Auril, the Duergar, or the Arcane Brotherhood. Foaming Mugs has a connection to the Goblin Fortress in Chapter 2, but both quests feel like a derailment from the main plot, and I would consider cutting both. Cold-Hearted Killer can be the party's main quest as they travel across Tin Towns, picking up leads and rumors. Southwell could provide information about the murder weapon, for example, to set things off, even offering a reward for the killer's capture. The party should learn more information about the victims and the motives of the killer at each location a murder took place. After visiting each of the murder locations, the party should realize that they all happen in towns that sacrifice people to Auril. You can point this out to the party if they do not pick up on it themselves. Likewise, Torga, the traveling merchant, should be a recurring figure in the early part of the adventure, being one of the only merchants capable of locating minor magic items that are quite sought after by adventurers. The traveling merchant should only be found in major cities, specifically the same cities that the murders are taking place. The crew of the merchant should be behind the scenes and only highlighted to the party if they begin to become suspicious of her. When the party is finally able to figure Sefek as the killer, he pulls the routine suggested in the book where he pretends to be intoxicated and leads the party to a secluded area, an abandoned stable perhaps, for a showdown. As for nature spirits, I would save this quest for another town that you feel doesn't mesh with the narrative you're trying to create. Targo's quest also feels out of place, and this one could easily replace it. You could also add this as a side quest with no town connection at any location that seems appropriate. I personally like to make Targos' quest to take down the Jentarum that are encountered elsewhere in the adventure, like in Goodmead's extra quest, New Town Speaker. Finally, Duvessa mentioned in her speech a council of speakers that is to meet once a 10-day. The council decides the nature of the sacrifices to Auril, amongst other relevant issues, and only meets under certain circumstances. The book mentions the council, but doesn't really give you specific instructions on how it is governed or how to run it. These are closed-door meetings for the party until they complete Goodmead's extra quest and earn a seat on the council. This allows the party to attempt to influence Tin Towns for the better. As the party completes quests for some of the smaller towns, more speakers will back them up in the meetings, and they will be able to end the sacrifices altogether, earning a target on their back from Narth Maxwell Danner and Daneth Whalen. Use these political relationships to fuel the conflict with the Jentarum and Auril's Rime. The meetings can be as frequent or as infrequent as you wish, depending on the interest of the party, and they should fizzle out entirely by the time Chapter 2 takes full swing. Well, I hope this rough guide helps you get started in Icewind Dale. This adventure is jam-packed with content, and it can be a little overwhelming. It almost has too much content. It would be better as 2 or 3 separate adventures. That being said, it is definitely possible to have all of the different storylines exist in one coherent game, but it can be a challenge. In a future video, I hope to break down the 3 storylines that exist in this book: Auriel's everlasting rhyme, the Sunblight clan invasion, and the Arcane Brotherhood, and how you can connect each story to the greater narrative. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this proper introduction to Rime of the Frostmaiden. Thanks for watching.